Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me for this segment, we have Dev Kurdikar, CEO of Embecta, to discuss how innovation in insulin delivery can empower people with diabetes to live their best life through innovative solutions. Dev, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thank you, Jill. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's start with some background. How many people have diabetes and why is it expected to grow? What are the causes behind this?
Diabetes is a huge global burden on society. It's estimated that approximately 500 million people around the world currently have diabetes. That number is only expected to get to almost 800 million over the next 2.5 decades. 1 in 10 adults has it. 3 or 4 of those are in emerging markets. And the costs are staggering as well. We estimate that almost $1 trillion is spent on managing diabetes. That number has gone up by more than 3 times over the last 15 years. That number is growing and disproportionately growing in emerging markets. And the reasons for that are obviously the underlying population growth, but as economies expand, as diets change, as people adopt a more urban lifestyle, these are unfortunately some of the reasons why diabetes is increasing in emerging markets. I also just want to point out that we have a strong presence in emerging markets. So we feel both the opportunity and the privilege of being able to do something, our small part to address the global burden of the disease.
Where does Embecta fit in the diabetes ecosystem and what solutions do you provide?
We fit literally right at the center of the diabetes ecosystem. As you may know, insulin has been used to treat diabetes for almost 100 years now. And we make insulin administration devices, injection devices, and we've been making them for 98 years. So for most people with diabetes that are going to be prescribed injection or insulin therapy, it's quite likely that they could use our products. We make syringes that are used to deliver insulin from vials. We make pen needles that are used with insulin pens. We make safety products that are also used to deliver insulin, but they are used by caregivers or healthcare providers so that they can deliver that insulin while still reducing the risk of accidental needle stick injury. We also have a digital health offering, a diabetes care app, so that people with diabetes can use it to get information that they can use to better manage their disease. So we have a suite of products and solutions around insulin administration.
It's so interesting that you mentioned the digital product as well. Tell us more. 98 years you've been developing these medical devices. How has it evolved? How have injection devices evolved?
There has been tremendous innovation and frankly, Jill, largely led by us. So the first dedicated insulin syringe that was made in 1924 was a glass syringe. The needles at that time needed sterilization, they needed sharpening. So they didn't make for a very comfortable injection experience. And you have to remember, people with diabetes have to use insulin chronically. They have to inject themselves with insulin every day for virtually the rest of their lives. Since then, there have been a series of innovations. The needles have been made thinner. The wall thickness has been made thinner to allow for easier insulin flow. Even the hub, which is where the needle attaches to the barrel, has had innovations to allow for a more comfortable injection experience. Certainly, the digital offering is helping as people get some more, direct information for them that's to better manage their disease. And we haven't stopped there. We are now working on developing a type 2 focused insulin patch pump that people can use to also administer insulin.
Let's review the latest quarter for Embecta.
Yeah, so this quarter that we are in, the beginning of this quarter, we began our life as a public company. We had the honor of ringing the closing bell on the first day of trading on April 1. We just had an earnings release. Just to remind our viewers, that was for a quarter that was the last quarter as a division within Becton Dickinson. So currently we are in our first quarter as a public company, and we are now focused on executing the transition services agreements that we have, standing up our company as an independent public company, advancing that type 2 closed loop insulin patch pump that I talked about. And then finally, we issued guidance for the second half of our fiscal year, which ends in September, end of September. where we said, we were striving towards a low 60s gross margin and an adjusted EBITDA margin of approximately 30%. So we are very excited. This is our first quarter as a public company, and we're excited about making the investments in the business so that we can accelerate our growth profile going forward.
Right, and that was my next question to you. Future plans to accelerate growth. Where do you see the opportunity?
Yeah, as an independent public company now, we have the financial and the operational flexibility to invest in ourselves. And we think of ourselves as an invest for growth story, Jill. We're going to pursue growth on three paths. First is invest in our business in the commercial front, because we still think there is opportunity to drive growth in our core product portfolio. Second one is investing in R&D, notably that type 2 closed loop patch pump we talked about. And then third is, investing in M&A and partnerships. Diabetes has a lot of unmet need. There are a lot of smaller companies that are innovating in this space. And given the scale and scope and the reach that we have, our products are available in more than 100 countries. Almost 30 million people use our products. We think we can be great partners to work with these companies to bring their products to market. So M&A and partnerships will be an important part of our growth strategy as well. Together, these three paths, we believe, will accelerate our growth profile going forward.
And Dev, the challenge is with diabetes, it's silent. It is not easy for the average person to identify. It's not like you break your arm and it's obvious what's wrong. Right. What are signs to see a doctor for diabetes, and what is the best way to manage care, including environmental changes one can make to manage their disease?
Yes, you're right. I mean, diabetes is often silent. The best way, honestly, and this is not going to be any groundbreaking news to you or your viewers, is to do regular medical screenings, right? So you and your healthcare professional provider, your physician, can do the right test, can do the right clinical exams. Diabetes is often diagnosed through just blood glucose measurements, right? So blood draws and testing. If you're a person with type 1 diabetes, I mean, it's a constant juggling act. You have to manage your weight, you have to manage what you eat, you have to manage your lifestyle, you have to manage your meds, you have to continuously monitor your glucose levels, right? And you have to administer insulin. So it places quite an emotional, besides sort of the health and the financial burden on both the person with diabetes and their caregiver. Type 2 is a progressive disease, so it's very likely that your physician, if it's caught early enough, might advise you to do some lifestyle changes, eat properly, exercise more, maybe move you to oral drugs. And finally, if you do end up on insulin, certainly our products and solutions are there to help you with it. So, honestly, the best way is just to do your regular medical screening so that your doctor can catch this early on, because the earlier you can catch it, potentially the more options you have.
Yep. Preventative and proactive. Dev, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you.